So I was talking to my mother on Wednesday last week, and I asked her about an adventure that my family had when I was 13 years old. And I've alluded to this, I've not alluded to it, I've explained the story in the past, so bear with me, I'll make it brief for those who have heard it, but just for those who haven't, I'll nutshell it. When I was 13 and my brother was 11, my parents upended our life in Southern California, Torrance, the exact same place we're going back to, where we were living at the time, and I have many fond memories. And we sold our house. My dad quit his job. He was working as a computer programmer for, I think it was TRW at the time, and grew our hair long and moved into a Frito-Lay potato chip delivery truck and wandered the United States and Canada. Pulled us out of school even. We missed some school. And great adventure. We called it the Odyssey. Parents called it the Odyssey, and the truck we lived in we called Strider, in homage to a character from Lord of the Rings, I believe, the long-legged wanderer. And that was formative for me and my brother as well, especially in my life. That laid the groundwork for basically becoming an adventurer, I believe, although I had the inclinations earlier than that as well, but it certainly set them in motion. But the thing that surprised me, talking to my mom last week, was actually this time, was I call her on Wednesday mornings as I walk to work, after I talk to you guys usually, so I asked her about the Odyssey, because to me it was a carefree event. I remember the wandering and the joy and the exploration and the freedom, and I explained to her about my anxiety going forward, and I asked her how she felt and how my dad felt. Mom said that she didn't feel much anxiety, but my dad, it was a mess. Pardon me, where's this coming from? Which was news to me, because I had no idea that my dad had any trepidation or uncertainty at all about what was happening. And in fact, I led the question because I was kind of curious about that. I was thinking, I'm about to take my family across the country to a safe situation. It's like embarking on something. I have a safe landing on the other side, and a welcome wagon. My family in California, my friends in California, and a job and all that. More about this later, about feeling grateful and sensitive to the situation of others. That'll come next in this video. But my father and my mother were embarking on something. They had a pile of cash. I mean, relatively speaking, it was a lot at the time, but it wasn't infinite. It wouldn't last forever. But they had no landing thing, and I was actually the thing that was prodding my mind to ask my mom about these things was I was trying to figure out how they felt about that, going on that adventure and not having a safe exit. And I was just really surprised to learn that my father was a mess, which doesn't surprise me now, because knowing who he was and how he was, that I would expect our responses to be basically the same. So, that in mind, okay, what that led me to do was to do more of this. My dad left a little journal during that Odyssey. He wrote down some of his thoughts. It's paper thin. It can't be more than 20 pages. It includes a map and all kinds of stuff. That's all I've got. I want to record more of this stuff and make this this Return to the USA playlist, as comprehensive as possible, for the sake of my family and anyone else who might be interested. So this is a bit of a warning. These videos might become a little bit longer, maybe more frequent, as I will strive to get more out there, because I would love to have the chance to watch a video of my father talking about his thoughts leading up to the Odyssey, because I remember them going through all the steps, and then particularly going through the Odyssey, and then the things that led them to eventually resettle again in Lake Hughes out in the Angeles National Forest. So there's that. So this might be more stuff along this lines. Now let's go on to, I've got a couple of things I want to talk about this morning. With that in mind, that this is kind of a free-for-all, so bear with me, guys, more stream of consciousness type of stuff. Let's go over a couple of things that happened yesterday. One really good piece of news. I was contacted by an antique dealer up in the Tokyo area. And now, the guy with the truck that I keep alluding to that's going to take my antiques, he's going to come up and do that. But there may be leftover. He may not be able to take everything. And I also have this tons and tons of valuable shelving, this luminous shelving that I don't know what to do with. Plus I have sets of shoji, Japanese sliding paper and wood windows, which are really valuable. They were a mainstay of my business. I mean, they were great money makers, and they're beautiful some of these things are amazing antiques. I mean, actually signed items. My father-in-law is a shoji maker, and he would look over these things and go, "Wow, Kurt, you've got some real treasures here. I used to buy these and collect these, and I got to get rid of those." But I was contacted by an antique dealer up in Tokyo, and she is going to arrange. She's trying to arrange to get a truck to come down and haul it all away. And if that doesn't work out, I also talked to my school, who I may be able to give the shelving to, which would be a great resource for them. For I mean, what school couldn't use high quality stainless steel shelving? So that's good. So that may be happening as well. What else? I was talking to. Let's see. I was going to talk about. I'll talk about what happened with Peter. I've got a longtime friend. There's some good friends I have on the internet, and one of them is my friend Peter, who understands me very well. We've done a lot of stuff together, and I really respect him. And he made a comment yesterday, and that kind of opened my eyes, and I'm appreciative of it, Peter. And I worry that some people may not take Peter's comment with the same light that he intended it, in the way that I took it. He made a comment about how it must be nice to when I get to my new situation, regarding my worries, when I get to my new situation, to be riding to my nice job on a BMW motorcycle in the California sunshine. Now, some people might take that as kind of sarcastic. No, that's not. It's not, and I know that. It was an image that woke me up at once, because it reminded me that I am very. I'm hesitant to use the word blessed, because that's a loaded term, but fortunate is probably the word I would prefer to use. I'm very fortunate in what's happening, and I wish to be mindful and conscientious of the fact that all of us are going through various challenges to various degrees at different stages of life. This happens to be one time in my life when the challenges have eased up a little bit, and I don't want to be forgetful of that. So thank you, Peter, for bringing that to my attention, because I want to remain sensitive to that. And the thought that was going through my mind as I was considering Peter's words, and after I responded as best I could, was I was really strange where these images come up. They just float up out of your head. I suddenly remembered the road, Highway 15, I think it is, that goes from Los Angeles out to Las Vegas. If you've ever ridden that, remember Billy Idol's song, stream of cars go to Las Vegas, yeah. Anyway, he's talking about that long stretch of road that goes, it's several hours, for 3 or 4 hours out from LA to Las Vegas. If you've ever driven on that, you leave LA, you go up over the pass, down into the desert out towards Barstow, and then you got up to Baker, and then it's nothing. You're just nothing, just this wide open desert. And there's this one point where you go down this hill and you turn left, and you look out, and this ribbon of road just stretches off into the distance. And out there in the distance is the border with Nevada and California, the state line. And there's this little dot there, and you can't quite figure out what it is. And as you get closer and closer, you start making out the details, and you start seeing what it is. And there's structures, and there's things, and what looks like a roller coaster, and it's kind of weird and confusing. And your attention is drawn to it, and you're focused on it. And it's what's called the State Line Hotel and Casino complex. It's the first. Someone came up with a great idea of creating a casino right on the state line. So you didn't even have to go to Vegas if you wanted to just go do your gambling. But the thing is, as you get closer, your attention is drawn to it. You don't see the peripheral stuff anymore. You're picking out the details. Now, if it's something that's interesting, like the State Line Hotel and Casino, then it's kind of innocuous, but it's kind of curious. But if it's something that's a little bit scary, as the details start to emerge, it becomes intimidating and frightful. And that's kind of what's happening in this case. Whereas I get closer day by day to this, I'm picking out the details. It's in the before this transition was months out. Now it's weeks out, and I'm see the details. My focus is on these things, almost to the exclusion of others going around me. And I forget sometimes that others have their own challenges and their own difficulties to take on. And if it sounds like I'm being insensitive to that, I apologize. I guess in some ways I should begin these videos by saying "Dear Diary," because when you're confessing to your diary, kind of anything goes. You it's kind of your own little world there. But I have to remember that this is not just a diary. This is a public forum. So maybe I went on a little too long on that, but I do feel bad for those who are facing difficulty now, and to whom the good fortune that has come upon my family may sometimes be seen as I'm taking it for granted, which I do not want to appear that way. So finally, another night of sleepless nights last night. Not a full night. I had about 2 hours. I couldn't sleep. And I had an interesting conversation with my wife this morning. I wish I could remember the whole darn thing. I know I'm going to get it wrong. She was making our lunches, and I was standing next to her, and I was cooking an egg. And I was telling her, I hadn't told her about my sleepless nights up until now, and I said to her, I'm having a little bit of trouble sleeping, and she said, why? I said, because I'm worried, I said, these ideas just pop into my head. I said, last night I told her, I said, the one that was the funniest one, I was melancholy and sad because of our living room. Because as I went to bed last night, and this is where probably I think too much, I went to bed last night, I got up from my little chair, my wife and daughter were sitting on the sofa that they always share, we all have our little spots, and I kissed them both good night, and Emily reluctantly, pushed me away, don't kiss me, Papa. And I went, this is our routine, right? And I went to bed, and I woke up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I thought about that happy, warm little place where the day is cold outside, where we all come home in the evening, we shut it, we lock the doors, lock the windows, I sit in my chair, the girls sit at their couch with sharing their blanket, they watch their Japanese TV together, and I do whatever, read a book, or not usually read a book, usually I'm on the computer or listening to music or something like that. And that's our little nucleus. And I was thinking, that nucleus is almost over. It's gonna be broken apart, and in 6 weeks I'll never see it again. And I was like, oh my gosh! And I was, you wake up at night, stare at the ceiling again, thinking those thoughts. I mean, these selfish, self-indulgent thoughts. When there's other people out there, like I said before, that are suffering more. But I can't help it; they just come. I don't know. I'm going this way. I already got somebody said, I don't know exactly. I can't apologize for it because they're just there. And my wife though, she's like, yeah, that happened to me too. I said, really? That happened to you? And she said, yeah, for 2 nights. And then I said, and then she said, then I got tired of that, and I stopped. I told myself to stop doing that. And I said, and that worked? She said, yeah. She said, just think about something else. Think of something happy. I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, and it's incomprehensible to me. I said, you could teach. I said, if you could compact that into a PowerPoint presentation and teach that, I think you could make a good living. So I don't know how to do it. It's a skill that she has that I simply am lacking, or maybe, just maybe, it's something that I really do enjoy. Oh, finally thing, I don't think so, but I hope not. Oh, finally, last thing, poetry. I'm going to finalize this video, finish off this video with that. Curious thing yesterday, I was having my private correspondence with another dear friend, and as well as someone who newly writing to me, and I found it interesting in 2 cases of these correspondence. We were talking about some really difficult things, and we independently elected to resort to poetry to share the ideas. I wrote a poem to share to my one friend, and then he shared a poem back to me. And then this other person that wrote to me wrote something akin to a poem as well. And what I really liked the way he couched it. He said, you wrote. This was in response to the video where I talk about not wanting help. He says, I'm not going to offer you any help, but I'm going to give you this quote right here, and I'm not going to tell you my impressions and let you formulate your own. That way, I'm not really helping you. That was clever. I like that, and I do appreciate that. So anyway, I was musing about the power of poetry. Oh, there was so much more, though. There was so much more I wanted to talk about this morning, but time is up and Mount Fuji is looming. Can you see? I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it? Right, peeking up there? So let's end with that now at 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. That's what happens when I open the door to to cognitive flowing. So let's take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening so long. If you've listened this long, if nobody else is there, then echo. Bye-bye.